In 1944, something new began to fall from the sky. There was no warning siren, no approaching aircraft, no distant engine, just impact. The explosion came first, the sound followed after. The V-2 rocket was the first long-range guided ballistic missile ever used in combat. Developed by Nazi Germany under the direction of Werner von Braun, it represented a terrifying leap forward in warfare. Unlike conventional bombers, the V-2 traveled faster than the speed of sound. It rose over 80 kilometers into the upper atmosphere before descending at hypersonic speed toward its target. It was unstoppable. London had faced bombing before. The Blitz had terrorized the population for months, but at least with bombers, there was radar detection. There were sirens. There was a chance to take cover. With the V-2, there was nothing. By the time anyone realized a missile had been launched, it was already descending. It struck without warning, without mercy. More than 3,000 V-2 rockets were launched during the final years of the war. They killed thousands of civilians and injured many more. Yet their true impact was psychological. For the first time in history, a nation could strike another from hundreds of miles away without aircraft, without soldiers crossing borders. It was the birth of modern missile warfare. Even more unsettling was what it proved. Space was now part of war. The V-2 briefly entered the edge of space before falling back to Earth. It was the first human-made object to do so. This meant that geography no longer guaranteed safety. Oceans no longer guaranteed protection. Distance no longer meant survival. Although Germany lost the war, the technology did not disappear. Both the United States and the Soviet Union captured V-2 scientists and hardware. The rocket became the foundation of future missile programs, and eventually the space race. The V-2 was not just a weapon. It was a message. The age of ballistic missiles had begun, and the world would never feel secure again. Messerschmitt Me 262. By 1944, Allied bombers filled the skies over Europe daily. They came in massive formations, hundreds at a time, escorted by fighters, protected by numbers. Then something faster appeared. The Messerschmitt Me 262 was the world's first operational jet-powered fighter aircraft. It did not rely on propellers. It used turbojet engines. It was nearly 100 miles per hour faster than the fastest Allied fighters. When it attacked bomber formations, it did so with devastating speed. Pilots described it as appearing suddenly, firing heavy 30mm cannons and vanishing before escorts could respond. Traditional dogfighting tactics were useless. The Messerschmitt 262 introduced a terrifying realization. Piston-engine aircraft were already obsolete. If deployed earlier and in larger numbers, many historians believe it could have significantly disrupted Allied bombing campaigns. But Germany's collapsing infrastructure, fuel shortages, and strategic mistakes limited its impact. Still, in combat, it was lethal. It shot down hundreds of Allied aircraft in a relatively short operational period. More importantly, it signaled the future. The jet age had arrived. After the war, both American and Soviet engineers studied captured Me 262 designs. Its swept wings, engine placement, and aerodynamic principles influenced the next generation of fighters. The skies had changed forever. Speed now meant survival, and any nation without jet technology would fall behind instantly. The Me 262 was not just a weapon. It was proof that technological superiority could reshape the battlefield overnight. Atomic bomb. August 6, 1945. A single aircraft flies over Hiroshima. One bomb falls. Moments later, an entire city disappears in light. The atomic bomb was unlike any weapon humanity had ever created. It did not rely on explosives in the traditional sense. It split the atom. Through nuclear fission, it unleashed energy equivalent to thousands of tons of TNT in a single detonation. The immediate destruction was beyond comprehension. Buildings vanished. Shockwaves leveled entire districts. Temperatures at the center of the blast reached levels comparable to the surface of the sun. 3 days later, a second bomb fell on Nagasaki. Within days, Japan surrendered. World War II ended. But something far greater had begun. The atomic bomb introduced a new reality. Humanity now possessed the power to destroy itself. For the first time, total annihilation was not theoretical. It was achievable. Nations quickly understood the implications. Within 4 years, the Soviet Union developed its own nuclear weapon. The nuclear arms race began. Fear became global policy. The bomb did more than end a war. It reshaped diplomacy, military strategy, and international relations for the rest of the 20th century. Every major conflict after 1945 unfolded under its shadow. It was not just a weapon, it was a permanent warning. SR-71 Blackbird. In the 1960s, during the height of Cold War tension, the United States unveiled something extraordinary: the SR-71 Blackbird. It looked futuristic. It flew higher than 85,000 feet. It traveled at speeds exceeding Mach 3. No missile could catch it. No fighter could intercept it. Constructed largely from titanium, the Blackbird was designed to survive extreme heat generated by its own speed. Its mission was reconnaissance. It did not carry bombs. It carried cameras and sensors capable of photographing entire regions from the edge of space. The Soviet Union tracked it constantly, but they couldn't stop it. Over decades of operation, not a single SR-71 was shot down by enemy action. Its existence sent a clear message. The United States could see everything, and there was nothing you could do about it. In a world defined by suspicion and nuclear tension, information was power. The SR-71 provided it at unmatched speed. It symbolized technological dominance during one of the most dangerous periods in human history. Intercontinental ballistic missiles. The V-2 proved missiles were possible. The atomic bomb proved destruction could be absolute. Intercontinental ballistic missiles combined both. By the late 1950s, both the United States and the Soviet Union possessed missiles capable of traveling thousands of miles, carrying nuclear warheads across continents. Launch time to impact roughly 30 minutes. There would be no battlefield, no front line. Entire cities would be targets. These missiles could be launched from underground silos, mobile launchers, submarines. Some remained hidden at all times. The doctrine became known as mutually assured destruction. If one side launched, the other would respond. Both would be devastated. Paradoxically, this balance of terror prevented direct, large-scale war between superpowers. Peace was maintained not by trust, but by fear. Even today, hundreds of ICBMs remain operational around the world. Silent, maintained, ready. They are rarely seen, rarely discussed openly. But they define modern strategic reality, the ultimate evolution of the missile that began with the V-2. Technology did not slow down. It escalated, and it ensured that modern warfare would never again resemble the wars of the past. F-117 Nighthawk. In 1991, the world watched a war unfold live on television, the Gulf War. For the first time, precision-guided munitions struck targets with surgical accuracy. But behind many of those first strikes was something the public barely understood. A black aircraft, angular, unconventional, almost alien in appearance. The F-117 Nighthawk was the world's first operational stealth attack aircraft. It was not designed for speed. It was not designed for dogfighting. It was designed for invisibility. Using revolutionary stealth shaping and radar-absorbing materials, the F-117 could penetrate heavily defended airspace without appearing clearly on radar screens. Traditional air defense systems relied on detecting reflected radar waves. The Nighthawk scattered those waves away from their source. To enemy radar operators, it often appeared as noise, or nothing at all. On the opening night of Operation Desert Storm, F-117 aircraft flew directly into Baghdad, one of the most heavily defended cities in the world at the time. Surface-to-air missile systems were active. Anti-aircraft guns were prepared. But the Nighthawks struck key command centers and infrastructure with remarkable precision. They flew where conventional aircraft would have faced extreme losses, and they returned. Stealth technology changed the psychology of air warfare. For decades, defense planning centered on radar coverage, missile systems, and layered detection. Now, those systems could be bypassed. The concept of air superiority shifted again. You did not need to outrun the enemy. You did not need to outgun the enemy. You simply needed to avoid being seen. The F-117 proved that advanced mathematics, material science, and computational modeling could redefine combat. It was officially acknowledged only in 1988, after years of secrecy. Until then, it had operated in the shadows. Even after retirement, its influence remains visible in modern stealth platforms like the B-2 Spirit and the F-22 Raptor. The Nighthawk was not just an aircraft. It was the moment warfare entered the era of invisibility. Hypersonic weapons. Today, a new chapter is unfolding. Hypersonic weapons travel at speeds greater than Mach 5. That is more than 5 times the speed of sound. But speed alone is not what makes them alarming. It is maneuverability. Traditional ballistic missiles follow predictable trajectories. They rise, they arc, they descend. Modern defense systems are built to track and calculate those paths. Hypersonic glide vehicles change that equation. After launch, they can maneuver unpredictably within the atmosphere at extreme speeds. They can alter direction, adjust altitude, complicate interception calculations. This reduces warning time even further. In some scenarios, decision-makers may have only minutes to assess whether an incoming object carries a conventional payload or a nuclear warhead. That uncertainty increases tension. Major powers, including the United States, Russia, and China, are actively developing hypersonic systems. Some are launched from rockets, others from aircraft. Some are designed to penetrate advanced missile defense networks. The strategic concern is clear. If interception becomes unreliable, deterrence models may destabilize. For decades, mutual deterrence relied on the assumption that launches could be detected and retaliation guaranteed. Hypersonic systems compress timelines. They introduce ambiguity. They challenge existing defense architecture. The race is not just about speed. It is about technological dominance in a world where reaction time may determine survival. Unlike the V-2, which introduced the missile age, unlike the atomic bomb, which introduced nuclear deterrence, hypersonic weapons introduce strategic uncertainty. They represent the next evolution in a pattern that began more than a century ago. From slow-moving zeppelins over Europe, to rockets touching the edge of space, to invisible aircraft over Baghdad. And